Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Bitter Rivals podcast. I am your host, Avery Roche, along with host Gitano Gallo. We have a hell of an episode for you today. We got a ton of stuff to talk about. Playoff preview, a little bit of a regular season review. This is probably going to go a little bit longer than usual, so buckle up and get ready to listen because we're pretty excited about what's coming. We also missed last week, so we got even more time to cover. We're good to go. We got lots to talk about, so let's get right into it. I want to start by talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. First of all, the end of the regular season. They're going into the playoffs on an absolute heater, which is awesome to see. Samsonov's been playing fantastic. Woll has been playing fantastic. Everybody seems to be meshing. Nylander's got his swagger back. He lost it for a little bit there, but he's got his swagger back. Mitch Marner's Mitch Marner, and Austin Matthews is Austin Matthews again. He ended the season playing some really, really, really good hockey, and it's just so nice to see. Ryan O'Reilly's healthy. The defense looks fantastic. They are not soft anymore. I don't think it's possible to accuse the Toronto Maple Leafs of being a soft hockey team anymore. And I think that's really, really important and is going to be really, really important in this series against Tampa Bay. It's going to be a rough one. We've talked about this before. We think that the Leafs, I think we can agree, other than goaltending, the Leafs have a better team, and that's kind of what scares me here, is that they probably should win this series. That's what's a little bit, that's the scary part for me as a Leafs fan who's endured more hurt and trauma and pain than any other fan base ever in any sport. I'm serious. It feels like that. That's how we feel.
Off the top of my head, I can't think of many more. Maybe was it Chicago, the baseball team?
Yeah, the Cubs. The Cubs won a long time without winning.
Like maybe them, but even then, like what Leafs fans have gone through has not been great for you guys. It's been great for everyone else.
But it's not even just the playoff drought. It's the not even making a Stanley Cup final. It's the not making a first round since what's it been? 17, 18 years?
Yeah, it was like 03,
I think it was 06
or something like that.
I want to say 06 was the last time we made it past the first round.
Yeah, something like that.
It's brutal, man. It's hard to hear. But I want to get into the playoff lineup. I think it's important to really nail down a couple of things here that I'm thinking. So I think Matthew Knies has shown enough to be in this lineup. I think he's been a really, really good addition to this team since coming. He's a big body. That's the thing about him. He's young, but he's a monster. So he doesn't really suffer. Like a lot of kids coming out of college, they're small. Like even Cale Makar is not the biggest guy in the world. He's not going to lay you out. Matthew Knies is a beast. Like he is a really, really big kid who works so well, on the boards. It's amazing. He can dig pucks out. He can forecheck. He's got quick feet too for a big guy. He's got really, really nice hands and a scoring touch. He hasn't scored for the Leafs yet, but he's put a couple in. Man, that shot is something else too. I think he's shown more.
How many games did he get in?
3, and he had a point, I believe, and he almost scored. But Ryan O'Reilly just tapped it in as it was crossing the goal line in that game against, I believe, Florida. I think that was that game.
Oh, Florida, yeah.
But yeah, it's been really, really nice to see Matthew Knies fit in. So playoff lineup. I don't know if I have him on the first line. I was thinking something that I think would work really, really well with that kid. I think Ryan O'Reilly should be a centerman on the third line. I think that just works really, really well. I really believe that's a fantastic lineup. So I'm thinking first line, I think you run with Matthews, Marner, Bunting. Daily Faceoff has them as the first line, and I think you run with that because they've just had so much chemistry in the past, and I think they'll turn it up come playoff time. And I think Bunting is, I don't really know where else to put him, so that's the other reason I think you put him there. Second line of Tavares, Nylander, and I like Yarncroke on that line. Keefe will probably have Kerfoot on that line because Keefe loves Kerfoot for some reason. Watching the last game, I came to the conclusion that he has one of the worst shots in the NHL, Alex Kerfoot. I honestly believe that you have a harder wrist shot than he does. It's like he couldn't break a beer bottle with his wrist shot. It's embarrassing. It's terrible.
He just floats muffins at the goalie or what?
It's insane. Like the only goals he gets are just like tap-ins around the net. Like it's kind of funny. I've never seen like Alex Kerfoot whistle one by a goalie. You know what I mean?
Like he's never like shot the puck past the goalie.
No, it's always like a tip in or like it goes off his ass and in or something like that. Like it's never a nice rip bar down. Like that's just not Alex Kerfoot. It's just not Kerf. But anyway, so I'm going to assume it'll be Kerfoot, Tavares, Nylander, but I would like to see Yarncroke. I think he's got a really, really good shot, which I just explained Kerfoot does not. I also think that he's not as good as Kerfoot defensively, but I think William Nylander's an underrated defensive player. I don't think you need a real defensive side on. I think you need to score on that line, and Yarncroke's better at scoring goals than Alex Kerfoot is. I think it's just that simple. So then that brings me to the third line, which is whichever Keefe doesn't go with of Kerfoot, Yarncroke, with Nyes and O'Reilly. And then a fourth line, something like David Kampf, Zach Aston Reese, Noel Acciari. Or Simmons in there if it's getting to be a rough series. Or Lafferty in there if one of those guys, somebody's not playing up to their standards. You have options, and I love to see it. Now, moving on to defense, I like the Jake McCabe, TJ Brody pairing, and they're going to eat a lot of minutes. Those two are defensive powerhouses, and I love seeing them play hockey together. Just for the nostalgia value, I love Morgan Rielly and Luke Schenn being on a pairing, and that also reduces Morgan Rielly's time on the ice, which is good. Because he's kind of a liability defensively. So I like that. And I love me some Timothy Liljegren.
Yep.
But in this series, it's probably going to be Justin Holl and Mark Giordano filling out that six. And if one of those two isn't doing it, and it's not going to be Giordano, so I'm talking about Justin Holl. If Holl isn't getting it done, then Liljegren comes in. And we also have Connor Timmins. Gustafson's on the IR. We'll see if he comes back. So it'll be interesting to see, but that's what I think we line up like. And here's the big thing for me. I do not care how healthy Matt Murray is. I don't care if he says he's 110%. Joe Woll's the backup. Joe Woll is the backup. Matt Murray is not it. He just ain't it. Joe Woll has been so good since he started backing up. Like, he had one bad game against Columbus, and since then he has been so good. And I think he's the real deal. And I can't wait to get rid of that Matt Murray contract this summer and then be paying this kid $750K for the next 2 years. It's unbelievable because he's so good. And I think you give the money that you're paying Murray right now to Samsonov. I think right now Samsonov's on like a 1.8 or something like that. So you take I think we're paying Murray a couple million. Give Samsonov 3.5, 4 over 4 years. Those two, Woll and Samsonov. I love it. That's an unbelievable 1A, 1B. And the only thing there, obviously, is the playoff experience. Joe Woll's got none. But Matt Murray just isn't Matt Murray anymore. He's not Stanley Cup winner Matt Murray. He's not. He hasn't been all year. Even when he's been healthy in the net, he hasn't been as good as Joe Woll. It's that simple. So that's, for me, what we got to do. Murray's, bury him. Just bury him. We don't need him. Seriously. And yeah, I don't know if that's a hot take, but it's my take.
It's like a lukewarm take.
So that's how I think the Leafs line up. Did you say you wanted to get right into, you want to do some closing remarks for the season for the Habs? Or?
Yeah, so we'll get into our preseason predictions and kind of see how we fared there. And then we'll just kind of close out the regular season with that. So for the awards, the only ones we can officially do are the Rocket and the Art Ross for most goals and most points. McDavid won them, and it's not even close.
Either of them. No.
Yeah.
He's an absolute menace, man. Absolute menace. Best player in the world.
The best statistical season in the NHL since, I think, 92-93 or 93-94.
Yeah, with Mario Lemieux. So
yeah, just disgusting. We did actually predict the Art Ross right. I'll give us credit for that. But we did both get the Rocket wrong. I went Ovechkin, you went Matthews.
Yeah, and McDavid just blew past everybody. He said, I'm scoring 50 this year, and then scored 60. So
60 like 5 or 63 or
yeah, it's between 60 and 65. I don't even want to look it up because I hate it, but like
I will look it up quick just to be sure.
man,
And then
I
also
can't stand how good he is. Like he is so fucking good at the sport. I can't even.
so in 82 games, 64 goals, 89 assists for 153 points.
That's absurd. That is absolutely absurd, man.
He's like just shy of a fucking 2 point a game pace.
Just a reminder that the year before, I know, like just shy of a points a game. That's outrageous. Those are numbers that have like. You're telling me you're doing that in a salary cap era too. What?
This is like Gretzky Lemieux era numbers.
Oh yeah, that's what I'm telling you, man. He's one of the great. He is to me the most talented hockey player that's ever lived, like ever. He just is. He's so good.
I think cups or not, he will go down as probably a top 3 greatest player in the league.
Even if he wins cups. Single cup.
If he wins cups though, like that'll just
he's the greatest player of all time.
Yeah.
But sorry, but McJeezy's on a different level, man. Like he's a robot that was made to play hockey. Like he is exactly what a hockey player. Every lab. Pardon?
Built in a lab. Like you couldn't build a more perfect hockey player.
You couldn't. We've said it 100 times. I know I'm repeating myself, but just the speed at which he processes the game and the speed at which he can play the game and like maintain control of the puck and see code like passes to make and shots to take and make moves that he can make. He's just playing on a completely like a different game almost. Like so there's. Go ahead.
I was gonna say the Hart hasn't been announced yet, league MVP, but like let's be real, McDavid's winning it.
McDavid is winning it, and if anybody doesn't vote for Connor McDavid, then they should literally never be able to vote for anything ever again. Like you should be banned from voting for public office even at that point because you have no idea what you're doing. Yeah. But anyway, yeah, so those 3 not officially on the Hart, but the Hart is McDavid, the Art Ross is McDavid, the Rocket is McDavid. Calder,
a weird one. There was a lot of rookies. Nobody overly stood out for me. I did have Beniers and McTavish as my pick. I think I ended up sticking with McTavish. But I really couldn't tell you for a rookie if there was like a standout definite winner.
From my understanding is Beniers has been the guy, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Like you said, nothing's really stood out. Another one that I heard, obviously I was watching the Oilers game, so it was the Oilers broadcast, but Stuart Skinner's a rookie, and he stole the net from Jack Campbell. So that's an interesting one as well.
That is a shout. So Beniers did finish the season with 57 points, most for a rookie, followed by Matthias Maccelli in Arizona.
Matthias Maccelli in Arizona.
Yeah. And then Mason McTavish finished 3rd in points. But yeah, I don't hate either my Beniers or McTavish shout. You went Owen Power, which I think was also a really good shout. Maybe didn't have the statistical year to get him those votes, but played really well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would have probably helped if Buffalo did a little bit better with their season as well, right? They were a little bit disappointing. Went on a few losing streaks, went on a few heaters, but also went on a few losing streaks, and it cost them a playoff spot. Moving on to the Vezina, we both had Vasilevsky. That didn't happen.
No.
Not a shout against Vasilevsky, but dude, Linus Ullmark came out of nowhere.
Like, that's again one of the statistical best seasons we've seen in a very long time.
It's outrageous, especially considering how many goals are scored in today's NHL. For a goalie to put up those statistics is insane. Insane.
I think he will win it by a landslide.
Yes, and it might even be a product of how good Boston has been. Like, Boston is...
Yeah. I know it hurts me to say it too, Ave, and it's going to hurt a lot more when we get to the playoff brackets. But yeah, like
Boston was by far, like, I don't remember a last time that a team was that much better than every other team in the NHL.
That Tampa season where they ended up getting swept by Columbus was maybe the only other one that I can think of.
Yeah, but even that team was not as good.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't this Boston.
Is statistically the greatest team of all time is what this Boston team is, which is outrageous to say once again in a salary cap era, 2023, that a team was able to break the Habs. What was it? The 73?
Oh, I couldn't tell you the year, but it's somewhere in there.
Forgive me if I'm misspeaking. I believe it was the 73 Canadians held that record for most points in a season and most wins in a season, and the Bruins broke both of those records this year.
So the only I think caveat is the Bruins played 82. Obviously, the 73 Canadians did not play 82 games, but still, like,
yeah, it's still
ridiculous. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
No, and nobody predicted. I believe when we did our playoff, I believe I had my hot take that Boston wasn't going to make the playoffs this year. I believe I said that on an episode of this program.
You probably did.
I believe I said that, and oh my God, was I wrong. Like, I believe we actually agreed on that. We were like, I don't think Boston might sneak into a wild card, I think is where we kind of finished.
I think the thinking behind it was that not that Boston wasn't good, but everyone else in the division was really good. And
yes,
they would kind of get,
exactly. And then Florida regresses, and yeah. That was crazy.
Real ugly.
Yeah. All right, moving on. The Norris. We both went for, and I think everybody went for, Cale Makar.
Yeah.
Didn't work out like that. He had an injury-ridden season. It happens.
Yeah. Not quite sure who will take it. Nobody really... Well, okay.
Erik Karlsson had 101 points. How could you say that the first guy to hit 100 points since Brian Leetch, dude? You're telling me that you don't think anybody stood out?
I just mean that in terms of like actual defensive play, nobody stood out. Karlsson had a great offensive season, and I will die on the hill that there should be two separate awards, one for defenseman with the most points, one for actual best defenseman. But yeah, Erik Karlsson is going to win the Norris.
Erik Karlsson is going to win the Norris, and again in 2023. That is crazy. Like, that is absolutely insane. If you put money on that, I want to borrow your time machine, because there's no way anybody knowingly put money on that without knowing what was going to happen, because nobody would have guessed that beforehand, man. That is crazy.
Like, I know we've often talked about how he has one of like the worst contracts in the league, and like how terrible it is. There's like 10 more years left on it or something stupid at like 11 million. So again, nobody fucking saw this coming. Nobody.
Now, it's crazy to think about that he was able to just turn it around and become the first guy since Brian Leetch to score 100 points as a defenseman. That's wild.
Also, like, did not realize Brian Leetch ever had a 100-point season. That's nuts.
Yeah, that is pretty crazy. Selke.
Again, we were really boring in this middle section here because we both went Patrice Bergeron again.
Yes, we did.
And again, I don't really think there's an argument against Bergeron winning it this year. I had just a really, really fucking good year. Can't argue with it.
Again, that award will one day be renamed the Patrice Bergeron Award, but like, it has to be at some point, because he embodies that award.
Like, he's the gold standard of defensive forwards, really. He
truly is, and he also obviously contributes offensively at a high rate too. So, I would like to give a shout though to Mitch Marner here.
Yeah, no, that's like totally not a terrible shout. I'm not going to argue with that. But at the end of the day, I do believe Bergeron's going to win. But
he is, and it's going to go to a center too, right? Like, centerman dominate that award. But Mitch Marner is one of the best defensive players in the league, and that, like, I would include even some defensemen on that list. I think he's like on the Leafs.
Wait,
He's a
who
top
do you
3
rather have on
defensive player on the
defense?
Leafs.
Who do
Sorry,
you rather have? Who do you rather have on defense, Erik Karlsson or Mitch Marner?
probably honestly Mitch Marner. Honest to God, yes.
Yeah.
Just
No,
his ability to steal a puck off of a guy's stick is second to none, and his ability to make people make dumb mistakes is also second to none. And I think it's hilarious when they do it. Like, we played the Oilers at one point in the season. Did that sick goal
the
that he scored
pizza
when Ryan McLeod just sent a pizza for some reason to Mitch Marner's doorstep, and Marner had like 30 seconds one-on-one with the goalie alone in front of the net. It was unreal, and he made the most of it and scored a beautiful goal. But he does that. That's one of his talents, is the ability to make guys make plays like that. I don't know what it is. He's just so deceptive, and he's so quick with it. It's amazing to see. So just a shout to Mitch Marner in the Selke category.
All right, on to the big one. Preseason Stanley Cup champions. No surprise you went for the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think you're probably going to stick with that.
I am going to stick with that 100%.
So I had the Tampa Bay Lightning winning the Cup. I don't think they will. I think they'll have a decent little playoff run, but I definitely do not see them winning the Cup at this point. And it feels weird to doubt them, because every time I've doubted them the last couple of years, they've fucking bit me in the ass. But
yep, that's what they do.
Yeah, but I'm pretty confident in saying I don't think Tampa's winning the Cup this year.
I agree with you there. I think they're going to be out in the first round, actually.
And then switching to the Conn Smythe, this is the last trophy here because we didn't have anyone for the Panarin. Obviously, yours is going to fit a little better because you actually have still have the Leafs winning the Cup, and you went with William Nylander.
I did, William Nylander. It's funny, my father said that about a month and a half, 2 months after we released that episode, and he's been telling everybody that he said it when I said it first, like 2 months earlier than he said it. So, and I stick with that, by the way. William Nylander still is going to win the Calder. Not the Calder, the Conn Smythe, sorry. Yeah, rookie Willie. But he was the Leafs MVP for a good portion of this season. So I think it's only fair, especially the way that he's heating up again, to stick with that. I think that he's on a heater right now. He's never proven himself to not be a playoff player. He's always been good in the playoffs. One of the only guys on the team that's very consistent in the playoffs. So I'm sticking with that, William Nylander.
All right. And so obviously I had Tampa winning the Cup. So I had Andrei Vasilevsky winning the Conn Smythe. I'm going to stick in a similar vein and say Linus Ullmark of the Boston Bruins will end up winning the Conn Smythe. Interesting. All right, so now actually you kind of were bringing it up there, the team MVP. So for the Leafs, you're going to go William Nylander?
No, I'm going to go Mitch Marner for the Leafs. That's what I said. That's why I said Willie was the team MVP for a good portion of the year, but Mitch Marner is the team MVP, and it really, really goes to what he does defensively, because he put up 99 points this year, and like I said, he's one of the best defensive players in the league, in my opinion. So he's the team MVP this year. Which is crazy because last year Matthews was the MVP of the league. But anyway, and it's not a shot at Matthews. That's not what this is at all. It's just Mitch Marner has been so good. Continue. Your team MVP.
So I had predicted it to be Cole Caulfield at the beginning of the season, but it was Nick Suzuki. He's captain fantastic for the Habs again. Only player to play all 82 games. It was just like the one pillar of consistency for us all year. Put up career year points wise, and that's without Caulfield for half the season, and basically playing with like a random assortment of like bottom 6 and AHL players. Still managed to put up career numbers. Just a phenomenal year for him, and I don't think I was too off in predicting Caulfield at the beginning of the season, but obviously that shoulder injury kind of threw that off.
Yeah, did he not still lead the team in goals?
Suzuki tied him in the last game of the season for 26.
Oh, okay. That's hilarious.
Well, you got to remember, like Caulfield was on an almost 50 goal pace until he went out. So, like, you know, he was doing well in terms of goals, and then we had to just kind of score by committee for the last half of the year.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. So the All-Stars, I had predicted Suzuki and Caulfield to be our All-Stars. Obviously, Caulfield was hurt at that point, but Nick Suzuki did end up going, so I was correct with that. And you had Matthews, Marner, and Riley as the Leafs All-Stars.
And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was just Mitch Marner, right?
Correct.
So, wasn't too far off. It was a stupid All-Star game anyway, and the selection process.
I believe Matthews would have been there, but he was hurt.
Yes, but stupid selection process, stupid game, stupid gimmicks, and that's all I have to say about that. Who cares?
Fair enough.
All right. Most excited to see.
Yeah, you kind of got burned on this one here.
I did. I got burned.
Yeah, you went with Matt Murray.
I did. I
will give you credit. For the first bit of the season, it was a good show. He actually was playing pretty well at the beginning of the year.
Pretty well is a relative term, but yeah.
Well, I mean, compared to what we saw from him in Ottawa and the kind of expectations we had for him, I would say it was pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm just disappointed overall. But anyway.
Yeah.
We'll get to disappointments later.
Yeah, so I had as a player I was most excited to see was Caden Gooley. He had a great rookie year. Obviously, the injuries, he missed a lot of the season. But you always talk about with like Liljegren and Sandin. Obviously, Sandin's gone now. We always talk about them having like sheltered minutes. Like Caden Gooley didn't get that. On opening night, the Habs had 5 rookies on defense. Caden Gooley just kind of immediately slotted in as our number 1 left D man, and that was his spot all year. He got 0 like sheltered minutes. It was you got the big matchups every night, and for a rookie, he really did not look out of place. Obviously, there's room to grow, and there were mistakes made, and that's fine. But really stood out as a head above the rest of our rookie defensemen. And I think if he had played a full 82 game season at that level, probably could have got some like 4th and 5th place Calder votes, could have snuck on a couple ballots.
Fair enough. Yeah, probably just from Montreal.
Yeah,
voters, but yeah, I hear you. All right, bounce back year. I had Matt Murray. Again.
Yeah, he did not bounce back.
No, he did not.
No. I mean, actually, he bounced right back to the IR. That's what he did.
Yes, that's exactly what he did. If we want to talk about guys who actually did have bounce back years, I would probably put John Tavares in that category. I would put Samsonov in that category.
Definitely.
And I think that's really it for bounce back.
Yeah, so for the Habs, I had Brendan Gallagher, if he stays healthy, was the caveat, and he did not. Played a bunch of the season with a broken ankle. Yeah, just did not stay healthy. Did not have a bounce back year. I'm probably going to predict the same fucking thing again because that's twice in a row that I've said that about him. But in terms of bounce back years, nobody really bounced back for the Habs. Let's be real.
Yeah, everyone it was a nightmare season for Montreal. We understand that. We understand that.
Like the players that were bad last year were still bad this year. Don't get me wrong. The players that were good last year were good this year, like Suzuki, like Caulfield, like. But yeah, nobody bounced back.
No. All right, breakout player. So you had Arbor Jackeye.
I had Arbor Jackeye, and I fucking nailed this because he absolutely. Like
was a
breakout.
Force, I'll admit it. He was a force.
Yeah, like breakout would be like the wrong way to put this. Like he absolutely like took off as a we've heard the story a million times. Undrafted in the O, undrafted in the NHL, like basically walks onto the team for opening night. Like the expectations were really so minimal.
Shattered.
Cemented. Just like fucking flew right through them. Became really one of, I would say, the premier tough guys in the league as well. Like just really didn't back down from any fights.
No. Actually
played like really good hockey for a rookie defenseman. And again,
until he got hurt.
Said, yeah, and then like I said with Caden Gooley, no sheltered minutes. It was you're our fucking second pairing guy. Like you're getting tough minutes. Fucking deal with it. And he dealt with it really well until the injury. You, on the other hand, went for Nick Robertson.
Who was injured again, right? I should have caveated that at the time that he needed to be healthy in order to break out, and he was not healthy and did not break out. There were a few breakout players, I would say, for the Leafs this year. I would categorize Calle Yarncroke in that category. He had a good year, offensively anyway. He's been very, very consistent. I forget what the number is, but he's had like 15. I think it's 15 goals every year of his career. Like it's hilarious. But he hit 20, so that was nice to see. Another player I would categorize in that in breakout is Joe Woll. Like I said, he has been a very, very, very good goaltender. He had a 47 save shutout, did he not? Was it a shutout? Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was a 1 goal. I forget exactly.
A really fucking good game from him.
He's played some really, really good hockey, and I don't think a lot of people expected that. The Leafs haven't really had a homegrown goaltender since, like, ever. Like, I can't even remember, man. Like, Felix Potvin, I think, was the last homegrown good goaltender that we have. And Joe Woll is looking like that, and I'm so happy to see it. I might also, I guess there's not a lot of evidence yet, but I think Matthew Knies is going to break out in these playoffs if he gets an opportunity, man.
I definitely don't hate that shout. From what I saw of him, like there's definitely he's got that something. Like there's
he's
like
got
I don't
something,
know what
sure.
to put it, but he's got something.
For sure. I agree. All right, moving on to under the radar player.
So I went with Christian Dvorak, but he spent half the season on the shelf, so really did not do anything.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Do you have any shouts to other players from that category under the radar?
Not really. And the only reason I say that is because nobody went under the radar in Montreal because the radar was just the bar was so low. You know what I mean? Like anyone who did anything got recognition for it because nobody else was doing anything.
Yeah.
So nobody went under the radar.
Fair enough. So I had Dennis Mulligan here, who was traded mid-season to the Colorado Avalanche, but I would put probably a guy like Timothy Liljegren in this category. I think that he flew under the radar, and I think he's probably not going to start in the playoffs, which sucks. Like, I saw a picture the other day of him walking into the arena, and, like, that's the face of a man who lost his 2 best friends and all of his minutes in the span of a week. Like, his 2 Swedish best friends in Sandin and Engvall out the door, and he does not play anymore. Like, you kind of feel for the kid because he was having a hell of a season. His underlying numbers, his X goals against, his X goals for are off the charts, one of the best in the league. And sometimes those numbers are skewed. We understand that, but
like you still have to be playing well to get decent numbers like that.
I would categorize him as under the radar. Can't really think of many other players. Maybe a Yarncroke would still be under the radar, but other than that, that's about all I have there.
So our last preseason prediction was a hot take. I'm gonna sit here and own up. I said the Oilers wouldn't make the playoffs because I don't trust them and they're awful. I was super wrong. McDavid went supernova and just
went
dragged
super
them in.
silent. Absolutely, that was insane. What he did this year is crazy.
I will hold my hands up and say I did not get that one anywhere near right.
So my hot take was that Juraj Slafkovsky would not play 100 NHL games. That's obviously spans more than one NHL season. And I also had in here that he would be the next Nail Yakupov. I stick to that. I'm sticking to it.
I don't think so. I think obviously he had a rough year. Was injured about the halfway mark, missed the last half of the season. And obviously the production wasn't great for the games he did play, but so I know you're not going to see this because you didn't watch every Habs game, but like you can see the progress he was making. He was making all the right steps towards being, a really good NHL player. Obviously the injury fucked that up, but yeah, I definitely don't think he will be the next Yakupov, and I definitely think he'll be playing 100 games.
All right, let's move into some postseason reactions. So these we kind of came up with this morning before we started. We'll start with our favorite moments of the season. You can go first.
So I've got two here. One's that's got a bit of recency bias. It's the Michael Pezzetta celebration in Buffalo, the day of the Tiger Williams riding the stick. It was just fucking jokes. But I also went with Arbor Jackeye killing Zach Cassian.
Yeah, that was great. That was fantastic.
That was the moment where, like, because up to that point he had a couple fights, fought a couple decent guys, and had been playing pretty decent hockey for the Habs. And like, so the Habs fans, we knew him. We were like, all right, this is great. But that was the moment, like at center ice at the Bell Center on Saturday night, like destroying probably one of the best like tough guys in the league. Where that was the moment where like the league took notice, where it was like, oh, like that. I remember like the NHL like Twitter account was like tweeting about it, and I was like, okay, like the secret's out. Like Arbor Jackeye's, he's here, and that was a super fucking fun moment.
So I had the Ryan O'Reilly hat trick, and I believe it was his second or third. I think it was his second game. I jumped shirtless into a snowbank after he got two. I told my father that if he gets the Hattie, I'm jumping shirtless into a snowbank, and he got the Hattie. So I did that. I have a picture. If anybody wants it, just send me a text.
If I remember, I'll edit it in here so the viewers can watch. They'll see.
Yeah, actually, I'll send it to you. I'll send you the cutout too. I like have one where it's like me cut out in the snowbank. It's the funniest shit you'll ever see.
The best goal the Leafs scored this year.
So that is I feel like I'm making a mistake, but it was the Nylander overtime winner against Minnesota. I think it was Minnesota, where he just walked through three guys, almost like Connor Bedard versus Slovakia, and then went around the goalie's far pad and tucked it in. That was a beautiful goal.
I know exactly what goal you're talking about. I couldn't tell you if it was Minnesota or not, but yeah, just I mean, you call him Willie Styles, right?
Yes.
That
was Willie Styles. Absolutely. In full effect.
Yeah. And so for the best Habs goal, I went with any of Suzuki's penalty shots or shootouts where he did like the Datsuk flip, because that was just fucking sick.
Yeah, for sure.
And he did it like 5 times. So you just pick any one of them. They were great.
Fair enough. Biggest surprise for the Habs?
So I went with Sam Montembeault. So I'm going to just start this off by saying, obviously, when I talk about him having a good season, it's relative to the Habs being dog shit. Obviously, like he did not have like a Vezina caliber season. But for what we kind of saw from him last season, which was me begging the Habs to play anyone but him because he was awful, to playing 40 games for us and basically being our number one goalie throughout the whole year, like he was. And you saw it a bunch of times where the Habs would give up like 40, 50 shots. Like he got hung out to dry. And so his numbers kind of reflect that. A 3.42 goals against, but also a 9.01 save percentage is not terrible given the circumstances. And actually it came out yesterday that he is going to be joining Team Canada for the World Championships. And I think that's really well earned from him. He had a great year for us.
Yeah, good for him. So my biggest surprise is Matthews only scoring 40 goals. Obviously, MVP season last year, 60-goal season. He looked like the most dangerous goal scorer in the league. He's won the Rocket every year for the past 3 up until this year when McDavid won. Might even be longer than that he's been winning Rocket Richards. Like Matthews wins the Rocket almost every year until this year. The other thing for me that was, I don't know if it was a surprise. I think it was just I was really, really happy to see it, and that was Samsonov being the clear number 1. That was awesome to see. Also, I forgot to mention, I want to go off the board for a favorite moment. I forgot to mention it earlier.
Yeah.
This celebration for Borja Salming was a fantastic moment in the Leafs season. I forgot to mention it earlier. I apologize, but that was one of my favorite moments from the season as well. But getting back to Samsonov being the clear number 1, awesome to see. I don't know if it was a surprise. I don't think a lot of people had a lot of faith in him. So it was really, I had faith in him. I thought he was going to probably be better than Murray this year. Former first-round pick, younger, and Russian. Russians are crazy, especially Russian goalies. So that's an awesome surprise there. With Samsonov being the clear number 1 going into the playoffs and us not having to really worry. Like he played so much better this year than Jack Campbell did last year. And look at the fucking contract Jack Campbell got. He's just, like, man.
Okay, but that's also a product of the Oilers management being awful, but
fair enough. Fair
6 one, half dozen the other.
Yeah, let's do team MVP. I'll start. Team MVP, I already mentioned it, is Mitch Marner. 30 goals, 69 assists, nice for 99 points. And best defensive winger in hockey and one of the best defensive players in hockey.
Yeah, no arguments there. And like I mentioned, Nick Suzuki was the Habs MVP, 26 goals, 40 assists for 66 points in 82 games. Like I said, just the pillar of consistency for us. Career year for him, and just the sky's the limit for him.
Absolutely. Moving on to biggest disappointment for you.
Yeah, so I've talked about it a bunch with all these players, but the injuries, and not just I don't want to just sit here and like throw the injury blanket at all like that, but like specifically these 4 players, and like because it was Caulfield, Slavkovsky, Gouli, and Jack-Eye. Like these are the young guys that you want to have getting as much game time right now to learn, to grow, to develop, to kind of mesh, and to see like all these guys plus a couple of the other younger rookies missing all that time was just super disappointing, because obviously the expectations for the year were not good, but kind of the one thing that Habs fans hoped for was these young guys would learn and develop and play together, and so for a lot of them to miss the season kind of sucked.
For sure. And mine was Matt Murray, because, well, we've already gone over why Matt Murray's a disappointment on the season. I just hope it doesn't cost us more than the 3rd-round pick that we took to take his contract, to get rid of it for a year. I think there's only 1 year left, but I think that's necessary for next year, because you got to give Samsonov some money, and it's got to come from somewhere, and I think it comes from Matt Murray's current contract. So you get that contract off the books, and then you can pay Samsonov. I wanted to see him have a bounce back season. I really wanted to see him have a bounce back season. As you can see, when we did it earlier, the bounce back year, guys. And he just didn't. He just was injured the whole time, and it was stupid shit, man. Like, he's concussed right now. It was a knee. It's a groin. It's like, what is going on? Like, you obviously aren't able to play an NHL season anymore, like, clearly. And it's just, I don't know, man. We got to get rid of that deal. That's all I have to say.
I feel like he's a future Arizona Coyote.
That's kind of where I was going, man. That's kind of where I was going. All right, are we jumping right into our brackets?
I think, yeah, we hop right into the brackets.
Start in the Western Conference?
Let's start in the West, just because we have no allegiances to the West.
No. So I have in the Colorado-Seattle series, Colorado in 5.
I have Colorado in 5.
It's not a shot at Seattle. I think Seattle's had a great year. But what it comes down to for me is they don't have any star power.
Yeah.
And Colorado has Cale Makar, Nate McKinnon, Mikko Rantanen. Landeskog's out for the season, but and the playoffs. But then they even have Devon Toews, Bowen Byram. They're just, the list goes on. They're a very, very good hockey team. Val Nichushkin is another big guy on that hockey team. They and I just don't think Seattle's going to be able to hang on to that series.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. For Dallas, Minnesota, I've got Dallas in 6.
I also have Dallas in 6. Just so you know, we did these completely separate.
Yeah, like I did mine probably around 10 o'clock this morning, and then when Avery got on the call, I was like, hey, go on the NHL bracket challenge, fill in your bracket, and fill in your awards and predictions and stuff that we just went through. So yeah, like we did not talk about this.
No, like this is all organic here. So what are you thinking about that? Go ahead.
I think Jake Ottinger is going to be the X factor for Dallas there, and
that was my thinking exactly, man. That was my thinking exactly.
Okay, well, fuck, like Winnipeg, Vegas. What do you got?
Winnipeg, Vegas. I got the Peg in 6.
Oh, I have Vegas in 6. Okay, so we're back to normal here.
Okay. So what are your thoughts? Why Vegas?
I just think Winnipeg's been super underwhelming this year. And I just think Vegas, they're getting some guys healthy again. They've got Eichel and Stone coming back for the playoffs. And I think that might just give them that little bit of boost.
So the reason I went with Winnipeg is similar to the reason I went with Dallas. It's because their goalie is significantly better than Vegas's goalie. Connor Hellebuyck is that guy. He's been getting a lot of Vezina talk this year. So obviously it's going to be Allmark, but number 2 is Hellebuyck. And number 3 is probably Ottinger. But on top of that, they have Kyle Connor, who's a great goal scorer. They got Pierre-Luc Dubois, I think is going to step it up this year before he comes to Montreal in the summer. I know. Josh Morrissey has been a fantastic player. He was like Norris caliber up until about the 3/4 mark of the season. He kind of tailed off a little bit, but he can bring it back. And The big decider is Hellebuck. Hellebuck's just that guy. He's just that guy for me.
I can't really argue with you there. I think you've raised great points.
And
I think that little bit of star power in Vegas, but
I agree with you too. Like that's the thing about just like I said about Seattle earlier is they don't have that Jack Eichel or that Mark Stone, right? Like they have Scheifele and Kyle Connor and Pierre-Luc Dubois, who just aren't on the same level as a guy like, Jack Eichel. Anyway, so I agree with you there. It's just the goaltending for me. Moving on to Edmonton, LA. I have Edmonton in 5.
I have LA in 7. I don't think the Oilers' defense is good enough to do anything in these playoffs.
Matthias Ekholm, man, I'm telling you. Matthias Ekholm has changed the fucking face of that team. It's unbelievable what he has done to strengthen that team from a defensive perspective as a whole. It's amazing to me how much of a difference one strong defensive player can make. And I'm sorry, McDavid's going to win cups, and I think he's going to make a run this year. I think that he's going to, himself, and Draisaitl. And that's the thing about them. They have like 3 players with 100 points. Hyman hit 100 points as well. Nugent Hopkins had a season, man. Like
I think Nuge hit 100 too.
Was it 4? Did Hyman hit 100? Am I going crazy?
I definitely one of those two hit 100.
I know they had at least 3. Maybe it's 4.
It's either way. It's just disgusting. But I'm almost positive the Nuge hit 100.
You're probably right. Here, I'm just going to the player stats now. Give me one second.
Nuge hit 104.
Did our boy Hyman?
Give me 1 second.
No, Hyman had 83 points. Point a game season, though. I thought Hyman had 100. Sorry, I must have saw that. Yeah, and imagine being a point a game guy and your teammate has like 70 more points than you.
I would say like nearly double your points.
Like that's outrageous. That is outrageous.
Fuck, I hate Connor McDavid so much.
So good. We've already talked
he's so broken.
Yeah. We've already talked about it though. We can't keep going here.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Okay, but yeah, no, I do have LA in 7.
Okay. So now let's go to the East.
Okay, so we'll save Tampa Toronto for last because that's going to be a long one. Yeah.
Boston, Florida. I have the Bruins in 6.
I have the Bruins in 6 as well. I think Florida's going to give them a bit of a push, but the Bruins will obviously have the quality to get through them.
Yes, the Bruins have been those guys as well, like we mentioned earlier. Carolina, New York. I'll let you go first in this one.
I've got Carolina in 6. Kind of similar to what I said with Boston, Florida, in that the Islanders are going to give them a bit of push, but it won't be enough.
This is my upset. I have the Islanders in 7. I think
I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
I think it's going to be a lot of boring hockey, and I think Ilya Sorokin is going to be a very, very big factor.
Yeah.
Very big factor, Ilya Sorokin. So, and I also think not having Svechnikov and Pacioretty hurts the Canes big time. I really do believe that. Devils, Rangers, I think this is going to be a series for the ages, and I have Devils in 7.
I also have Devils in 7. And yeah, this has the looks of like one of the best series in years.
Oh, it's going to be awesome to watch. I can't wait. The Devils have been so good all year. The Rangers have so much star power. It's going to be awesome. They have some, it's going to be, you got Jack Hughes, you got Mika Zibanejad, you got Patty Kane, Timo Meier, a couple of trade deadline acquisitions. You got Jesper Bratt, you got Chris Kreider. It's just, there's so much star power. Dougie
Hamilton.
Dougie Hamilton's been one of the best defensemen in the league this year, and Adam Fox is every year. So there you go. And last but not least, the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Tampa Bay Lightning. I have
I was going to say, let me go first because I know you want to do your thing. I got Tampa in 7.
That's just outrageous.
Vasilevsky will be the difference. I think he will, because here's the thing. When he loses in the playoffs, he wins the next game. And I think he's got like shutouts in like 6 or 7 of his last 8 game 7s. Like he's just stupid. I think you get to this point of the season, he takes it up that other level, and I think that's the difference.
See, I think the thing about Vasilevsky is he's had a much better team in front of him for the past 3 years, and the team in front of him, it just isn't going to be able to hold off this Toronto Maple Leafs team. The Leafs are better. Tampa is worse, I would say, than last year, and that incremental dip, because it was this close last year. It was this close, that series, all the way through, from game 1 through 7. Every game was this close, other than I think the Leafs blew Tampa out in one game. But I think it was like a 6-2 final or something. But other than that, and I'm telling you, the incremental bits that the Leafs got better, the little pieces that they added to get tougher, deeper, and the goaltending is better than it was last year as well. I'm not saying Jack Campbell was the reason we lost that series, but he definitely wasn't a reason that we were going to win it. I think Ilya Samsonov can be that. Joe Woll can be that. I think the defense is stronger, more built for the playoffs than Toronto. And I think that the forward group is deeper and more well-balanced than it was. We don't just rely on one line anymore like we did last year. And I think that's going to be a difference. I think it was just too close last year, and I think the Leafs got better and Tampa got worse, and that's going to make the difference. This is the year, I'm telling you.
So you know Leafs in how many?
Leafs in 6.
Interesting. All right. So just to go through this quick, we both have Colorado and Dallas, right? We both went
Yep.
Colorado, Dallas, and then you went Winnipeg, Edmonton. I went Vegas, Kings. Then in the East, we both went Boston, New Jersey, right?
Boston, New Jersey, yeah.
And then you went Leafs, Islanders, and I've gone Tampa, Carolina.
All right. So we'll start in the West again.
Yeah,
second
start
round.
the West again.
So second round, I have the Dallas Stars beating the Colorado Avalanche, and I'm gonna call that in 7.
So I have Colorado beating Dallas, and I'm also going to say 7.
Reasoning.
I think it's going to be the offensive star power. I don't think Dallas has it compared to Colorado. I think it's going to be like, the way I see it, it's Colorado's offense versus Jake Ottinger. And I think I'm just going to give the edge to Colorado's offense.
See, I agree with you, other than Jason Robertson, Tyler Sagan, and Jamie Benn. I think those guys can really turn it up. Specifically, Jason Robertson, he's one of my favorite players in the league. So yeah, that's why I think that's an upset that they can make, especially without Landeskog. It sucks for them to not have him, their captain, man. But what are you gonna do? That's how the cookie crumbles sometimes. Moving on to the next series. So I have Winnipeg, Edmonton. I have Edmonton winning that series in. I'm gonna go 5.
Ooh, so you have the fucking Oilers breezing through these playoffs.
Yeah.
So I have Vegas, LA, and I'm going to go Vegas. I'm going to say that's probably going to be in 6.
Vegas in 6. So you have a Vegas, Colorado conference.
Yes.
And I have a Dallas, Edmonton conference. Moving on to the East. We'll go. I have Devils, Islanders. And I have the Devils winning that series in 6.
So I have Devils, Carolina, and I also have the Devils in 6.
So we're both high on the Devils.
Yeah. I mean, we have every right to be. They were phenomenal this year.
I have Leafs, Boston. And I have the Leafs in 7.
No, so I've got Boston, Tampa, and I've got Boston in 6.
I got Leafs in 7, baby.
If you have a fucking if you're gonna tell me you have a Toronto Edmonton Cup final, I'm gonna kill you.
That's exactly what I have.
You fucking dummy. So you got Edmonton over Dallas in how many?
Edmonton over Dallas in 6. So actually, you know Colorado. What? 7. Ottinger's going to give McJeesy hell.
I would love to see that playoff matchup because that's all it would be. It would be fucking McJesus versus Ottinger.
Yeah.
I've got Colorado over Vegas in 6. So the Colorado Avalanche going to back-to-back Cup finals out of the West.
Okay. I have Edmonton there, and in the East, I have the Leafs over New Jersey. I'm going to take the Leafs in 6 in that series. And that's just going to be a difference in goaltending, to be completely honest. The Leafs have better goaltending than New Jersey does, and that's I think a big factor.
Yeah, and I am going to go with Boston over New Jersey, and I think that's going to be in 6. So I've got the Bruins playing the Colorado Avalanche in the Cup final.
I have the Leafs and the Oilers in the Cup final, with the Leafs winning in 6.
No, but okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I have.
And I think you will understand how painful this is for me to say. But I have the Boston Bruins winning the Stanley Cup in probably 6 over the Colorado Avalanche. Like, that makes me physically ill to say that. But it's just
pretty gross.
I can't not pick them. Like, they're just so good. They've been so good all season, and they've given us no reason to doubt that they can do this again in the playoffs. So that hurts. That hurts so much to look at.
All right, so we are finished our brackets. We have done a lot of talking, and we have provided a lot of content today. Game 1 for the Leafs in Tampa is 7:30 on Tuesday. I unfortunately have an exam at 7 p.m. that day in person.
Get fucked.
So I'm going to miss the first period, 2 periods maybe, but I will catch the end. Hopefully that is a Game 1 victory at home in Toronto. I'm starting to get nervous. I'm not going to lie to you.
Squeaky bum time?
It's squeaky bum time. I'm starting to feel like I always describe my feeling, like death. So
the playoffs do actually kick off tomorrow, though. Hurricanes and Islanders started off at 7 p.m. I'm looking forward
to the Leafs Tampa series and the Rangers New Jersey series being on the same night is absolutely ludicrous. Those are going to be 2 of the most entertaining series.
At least they staggered the puck drops, though.
So they have a 7 p.m. puck drop?
They have 7 p.m. Yeah, and then the Tampa game is 7:30. So at least it's staggered. I originally saw that it wasn't, and I was kind of upset about that, but it's at least been staggered by a half hour.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, I don't have a whole lot to get off my chest other than all of the stuff that we've already said. So I'm good to roll with it. Go Leafs, go. It's time, baby. It's time.
All right. And can I just take the floor for a second?
Absolutely.
I just want to say it was a super not fun season to be a Habs fan, but I had a lot of fun watching. So just shout out to all the Habs fans and the Habs, and we'll be back next season, hopefully with Bedard.
There's your postmortem, your Habs postmortem. We'll get into also talking about Connor Bedard. When does that happen? The lottery balls.
May
8th. That's bigger than the Stanley Cup almost, man. Whoever lands that kid. But
like it might as well be.
Seriously, like, I'm not looking forward to that kid being in the league. But anyway,
I am, as long as he's in Montreal.
Yeah, if he lands in Montreal, I swear to fucking God.
Oh, Ave, that'll be the best moment of my life.
No, it'll be the worst of mine. Worst.
Oh, it'll be so good.
I've been through some traumatic stuff, but nothing will come close to that.
Like, just for a second, just think about how awful that would be for you.
Oh, it would be terrible. Like, to any Eastern Conference team, but specifically to Habs, I would cry. I would cry myself to sleep for a week.
Well, anyways, it has been a pleasure going through the regular season with you, and I'm super excited to get to these playoffs.
Yeah, me too, man. Very, very happy to have done 92 episodes with you, Gitano. Thank you very much. I enjoy every one of them. Sorry we were a week late on this. We figured with Easter and everything, then we got about halfway through the week and we were like, we haven't recorded yet. And we were like, you know what, let's just do a big one on Sunday. And that's what we did. We're probably about an hour and something in here. So I hope you were able to pencil us in somewhere in your time. Thank you for doing so. And we will talk to you next Sunday, hopefully with the Leafs leading a series.